The Industrial Revolution, a period of unprecedented technological advancement, brought about immense societal shifts. Its gears churned relentlessly, reshaping society and the lives of countless individuals. Factories sprung up across the landscape, drawing rural populations to urban centers in search of work. The promise of employment lured many from their agrarian lives, hoping for a better future. However, this era of progress was marred by harsh working conditions. The reality of factory life was far from the idyllic vision many had imagined. Laborers, including women and children, toiled for long hours in dangerous environments, their small hands and bodies pushed to the limit. They were earning meager wages that barely sustained them. Families struggled to make ends meet, trapped in a cycle of poverty and dependence. The absence of regulations and worker protections led to widespread exploitation and discontent. Factory owners prioritized profit over the well-being of their employees, creating a system ripe for abuse. Workers faced constant threats to their health and safety, with little recourse or support. Accidents were common, and the air was thick with pollutants. This initial phase of industrialization laid the groundwork for the rise of labor movements. As workers began to recognize their collective power and the need for change, they started to see that only through unity could they hope to improve their circumstances. Whispers of resistance began to circulate among the factory floors. Small acts of defiance, like slowing down the machines, became more frequent. Workers shared stories of injustice and dreamed of a better world. Secret meetings were held in dimly lit taverns and back alleys. Here, laborers gathered to discuss their grievances and strategize for action. They spoke of forming unions and demanding fair treatment from their employers. The seeds of revolution were being sown in the hearts and minds of the working class. These early gatherings were often met with suspicion and hostility from factory owners. Spies were sent to infiltrate the meetings and report back on the activities of the workers. Those suspected of organizing or agitating were often blacklisted or fired. Despite the risks, the labor movement continued to gain momentum. Workers were willing to risk everything for the chance to improve their lives and the lives of their children. The fight for fair wages, safer working conditions, and the right to organize was just beginning. The early labor movement was not without its challenges and setbacks. Internal divisions and disagreements often hampered the effectiveness of the workers' efforts. Some advocated for peaceful negotiation, while others called for more radical action. The lack of resources and experience also made it difficult for the labor movement to compete with the power and influence of the factory owners. Despite these obstacles, the labor movement persisted, driven by the unwavering determination of its members. They understood that their struggle was not just for themselves, but for all working people. The sacrifices they made would pave the way for future generations of laborers. The early labor movement laid the foundation for the reforms that would eventually transform the industrial landscape. Through their collective action, workers began to challenge the unchecked power of the factory owners and demand a more just and equitable society. The fight for labor rights was a long and arduous one, but it was a fight worth fighting. The seeds of change had been planted, and the labor movement would continue to grow and evolve in the years to come. The stories of these early labor activists serve as a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right. Their courage and determination inspire us to continue the fight for social and economic justice. The legacy of the Industrial Revolution and the labor movements it spawned continues to shape our world today. We must never forget the sacrifices made by those who came before us, and continue to work towards a more just and equitable future for all. The fight for labor rights is an ongoing process, and we must remain vigilant in our efforts to protect the rights and well-being of workers around the world. The lessons of the Industrial Revolution serve as a reminder of the importance of social responsibility and the need for ethical business practices. We must strive to create a world where all workers are treated with dignity and respect, and where their rights are protected by law. The labor movement has come a long way since the early days of the Industrial Revolution, but there is still much work to be done. We must continue to support the efforts of labor unions and other organizations that are working to improve the lives of workers around the world. Together, we can create a more just and equitable society for all. The Industrial Revolution was a time of great change and upheaval, but it also gave rise to a powerful movement for social justice. The labor movement emerged as a force to be reckoned with, challenging the status quo and demanding a better world for working people. The legacy of the Industrial Revolution and the labor movements it spawned continues to inspire us today. We must never forget the lessons of the past and continue to work towards a more just and equitable future for all. The fight for labor rights is an ongoing process, and we must remain vigilant in our efforts to protect the rights and well-being of workers around the world. The future of work depends on our ability to create a system that is fair, sustainable, and equitable for all. Let us work together to build a better world for future generations. The end. The seeds of change, sown in exploitation, now began to sprout. The deplorable conditions endured by industrial workers ignited a wave of labor movements and reforms. Workers organized into unions, demanding better wages, shorter hours, and safer working environments. The air crackled with the energy of collective action. Strikes and protests became increasingly common, challenging the established power structures of the time. The streets echoed with the chants of the working class. Reformers and activists joined the cause, lending their voices to the growing chorus of dissent. They advocated for legislation to protect workers' rights and regulate industries, challenging the status quo. The fight was uphill, but the spirit of the laborers was indomitable. Newspapers carried stories of hardship and resilience, swaying public opinion. Speeches echoed in town squares, igniting the hearts of the downtrodden. The movement gained momentum, fueled by the shared desire for a better future. Gradually, governments began to respond to the pressure, feeling the heat of public scrutiny. Politicians, once indifferent, now listened with a newfound attentiveness. The voices of the people could no longer be ignored. They began enacting laws that limited working hours, a victory hard won through tireless struggle. The concept of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay began to take root. Child labor, a stain on society, was slowly but surely prohibited, rescuing countless young souls. The cries of children would no longer be heard in the factories. Families rejoiced as their young ones were freed from the harsh grip of industry. Safety standards were established, aiming to protect workers from the most egregious dangers. The whirring gears of progress would no longer demand a sacrifice of life and limb. Injuries and fatalities in the workplace decreased, a testament to the power of reform. These reforms marked a significant step towards a more just and equitable society. The balance of power began to shift, ever so slightly. The relationship between labor and capital was being redefined, forged in the fires of protest. Negotiations became more common, as workers gained a seat at the table. The transformation was not immediate, nor was it complete. There were setbacks and compromises along the way, but the momentum was undeniable. The seeds of change had been sown, promising a future where the dignity of labor was recognized. The echoes of revolution resonated, carrying the hopes of a generation. The fight for justice was far from over, but the path forward had been illuminated. The spirit of the labor movement lived on, inspiring future generations to stand up for their rights. The lessons learned during this era shaped future labor laws and social policies. The struggle for workers' rights continued, evolving with the changing times. Each victory, no matter how small, served as a reminder of the power of collective action. The voices of the workers, once silenced, now echoed in the halls of power. The fight for a better world was far from over, but the foundation had been laid. The spirit of reform lived on, inspiring future generations to challenge injustice. The pursuit of a more equitable society remained a constant goal. The legacy of the labor movement served as a beacon of hope. The journey towards a more just world continued, one step at a time. The fight for workers' rights was a testament to the human spirit. The power of collective action was undeniable. The pursuit of a better future remained a constant source of inspiration. The legacy of the labor movement lived on, shaping the world we live in today. The echoes of the past served as a reminder of the struggles and sacrifices made. The fight for justice continued, with each generation carrying the torch forward. The spirit of reform remained alive, inspiring change and progress. The pursuit of a more equitable society was a never-ending journey. The legacy of the labor movement served as a guide, illuminating the path ahead. The journey towards a more just world continued, with hope and determination. The fight for workers' rights was a testament to the power of unity. The power of collective action was a force to be reckoned with. The pursuit of a better future remained a driving force for change. The legacy of the labor movement lived on, shaping the course of history. The echoes of the past served as a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right. The fight for justice continued, with each generation building upon the foundation laid by those who came before. The spirit of reform remained a beacon of hope, guiding us towards a brighter tomorrow.